I never imagined that my fairy tale wedding would turn into my worst nightmare. Laughter filled the bridal suite as I adjusted my veil for the final time. The golden morning sun bathed the room in warmth, making everything feel surreal. I'm Harper, and today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. "Harper, you look absolutely stunning," Madison, my best friend, exclaimed as she helped me smooth the delicate lace of my dress. The air was electric with excitement, but underneath, an uneasy feeling settled in my chest. Ethan had been distant all morning. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Laughter filled the bridal suite as I adjusted my veil for the final time. The morning sun poured through the windows, casting a warm golden light over everything, making the moment feel surreal. I'm Harper, and today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. "Harper, you look absolutely stunning," Madison, my best friend, squealed, helping me smooth out the delicate lace of my dress. The other bridesmaids nodded, their matching blue dresses creating a beautiful contrast in the mirror behind me. The air was alive with excitement, hairspray, perfume, and champagne blending into the perfect wedding day ambiance. Everything felt like a dream. The venue, a beautiful historic mansion with sprawling gardens, was just as I had always envisioned. "The flowers are here," and Skylar, my sister, announced as she walked in, holding a massive bouquet of white roses and peonies. "And Ethan's already here. He's nervous but so excited." Her words made my heart flutter. After 2 years of dating and a magical engagement, I was finally marrying the man of my dreams. The door opened once more, but this time the atmosphere in the room shifted. Eleanor, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, stood in the doorway in an expensive gray dress, her smile perfectly measured but lacking warmth. "Harper, dear," she said, her voice laced with a sickly sweetness. "We need to talk about the seating arrangement again." The way she emphasized "again" made my stomach tighten. We had already gone over this at least 3 times this week. Madison squeezed my hand in silent support. "Mrs. Walker, we've already finalized everything. The coordinator has it all under control." Eleanor waved a perfectly manicured hand, dismissing Madison's words. "This won't take long. I just think it's inappropriate to have Harper's cousin Chase at the main table given his background." My heart dropped. Chase had battled addiction years ago but had been sober for 5 years now. He was like a brother to me, and hearing Eleanor's words felt like a deliberate jab. "He's family," I said, my voice steady but firm. "And it's already been arranged." Eleanor's face tightened, but before she could retort, my mom burst into the room, her face radiating excitement. "Harper, honey, the photographer's ready for pre-ceremony shots." The tension broke, at least for a moment, as I gathered my dress to leave the suite. But as I passed by Eleanor, I caught her typing furiously on her phone. Something about her expression made my gut twist, but I brushed it aside. This was my wedding day, nothing would spoil it. In the garden, the photographer positioned us among the roses. The bridesmaids laughed, posing as the soft morning light bathed them in a warm glow. Everything looked like a fairy tale. White chairs lined up on the lawn, the flower arch where Ethan and I would exchange our vows, and soft music drifting on the breeze. "Beautiful," the photographer called out, snapping photos. "Now let's get some shots with the groom's mother." Eleanor stepped forward, placing her arm around my waist. Her grip was a bit too tight, her smile just a little too forced. "We're going to be one big happy family now," she whispered, and something in her tone made my skin crawl. I smiled for the camera, ignoring the uneasy knot forming in my stomach. The perfect day I had envisioned was about to take an unexpected turn, and I had no idea how dramatically my life was about to change. "Harper?" Eleanor's voice cut through the chatter again. "Could you come here for a moment? There's something else we need to discuss." She stood near the garden entrance, her face serious. I heard my phone buzz in Madison's purse as I walked toward her. It was a message from Ethan. "Mom's upset about something. Please be patient with her today." If only I knew then what was about to unfold. I might have run in the opposite direction, but instead, I straightened my back, fixed my smile, and walked toward Eleanor, determined to keep the peace on my wedding day. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a story that would change everything. Harper, dear. Eleanor's voice was honey-sweet as she led me away from the cameras and watching eyes. Let's have a proper chat, just us girls. She guided me toward a quiet corner of the garden where rose bushes provided privacy from the rest of the wedding party. I smoothed my dress, trying to stay calm despite the warning bells ringing in my head. Is everything okay, Eleanor? Her smile dropped the moment we were alone. No, Harper. Everything is not okay. Do you think I don't see what you're doing? Her eyes narrowed, scanning my face like she was searching for something. I'm not sure what you mean, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. Oh, please, she scoffed, adjusting her designer shawl. The way you've arranged this wedding, pushing my suggestions aside, placing your family front and center, even that tasteless cousin of yours at the main table. It's like you're deliberately trying to embarrass us. I felt heat rising to my cheeks. Eleanor, this is Ethan's and my wedding. We made these decisions together. Together? She laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. My son would never choose such common arrangements. This all screams of your family's influence. Those tacky centerpieces, that generic music playlist. Those centerpieces, I interrupted, finally letting some steel enter my voice, were handmade by Ethan's grandmother, your mother. Eleanor's face flushed red. Don't you dare speak to me about my mother. You think because Ethan gave you a ring, you suddenly understand our family? You have no idea about class, about tradition. I noticed some guests starting to look our way. Madison was watching from near the photo area, her concern visible even from this distance. I think we should rejoin the others, I said, trying to diffuse the situation. The ceremony starts in an hour. Don't walk away from me when I'm speaking to you. Eleanor grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging in slightly. You may have fooled Ethan with your sweet, innocent act, but I see right through you. You're nothing but a gold digger, using my son to climb the social ladder. The accusation hit me like a slap. That's not true, I whispered, feeling tears threatening to form. I love Ethan. This isn't about money or status. Mom? Ethan's voice cut through the tension. He was walking toward us, looking handsome in his tuxedo but wearing a worried expression. Everything okay here? Eleanor's transformation was instant. Tears welled up in her eyes as she turned to her son. Oh, Ethan, I was just trying to have a heart-to-heart with Harper, to welcome her to the family properly, and her voice broke dramatically. She said the most horrible things about our family, about our traditions. What? I stared at her in disbelief. That's not what happened at all. Ethan looked between us, confusion clear on his face. Harper, what's going on? She called me a controlling witch, Ethan. Eleanor was full-on crying now, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. Said I had no right to be involved in the wedding at all, that our family's traditions were outdated and embarrassing. I never said any of that, I protested, feeling the situation spiral out of control. More guests were gathering now, drawn by the commotion. Ethan's expression hardened as he looked at me. Harper, why would you say those things to my mother today of all days? But I didn't. Ethan, she's twisting everything. She's the one who... Are you calling my mother a liar? His voice was cold now, different from anything I'd ever heard from him before. Eleanor pressed her advantage, clutching Ethan's arm. I just wanted to be part of this special day, to share our family's traditions, but she broke into fresh sobs. The watching crowd had grown larger. I could see my parents pushing through, trying to reach us. Madison was already halfway across the garden, her face fierce with concern. Ethan, please. I reached for his hand. You know me. You know I wouldn't... I thought I knew you. He cut me off, his voice hard. But maybe Mom was right about you all along. The tension in the air was suffocating, thick with the weight of Ethan's words. The perfect day I had envisioned was crumbling, and I stood there in my white dress, feeling more isolated than ever. The moment of truth had arrived, and there was no turning back. The silence stretched on, unbearable and endless. Guests murmured, their whispers sharp in the heavy air, while Eleanor continued to feign distress, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief that seemed far too carefully chosen. "How dare you!" My voice rang out, stronger than I had expected, surprising even myself. "After everything we've built together, you would believe these lies without hearing my side?" Ethan's jaw clenched as he glared at me. "My mother has no reason to lie, Harper," he said, his tone sharp. "But you—" He glanced at my cousin, Chase, standing off to the side, watching us closely. "Your family has a history of causing problems." The words hit like a slap. My hand trembled, but I refused to let them see it. "My family?" I shot back. "My family welcomed you with open arms. They helped plan this wedding, they supported us, and they loved you like their own." Eleanor scoffed, her fake tears vanishing just as quickly as they had appeared. "Is that what you call it? Forcing your way into our lives? Trying to change Ethan, turning him against me?" Madison arrived by my side, standing strong, her eyes fierce. "Mrs. Walker, I think you need to step back and stay out of this." Ethan snapped back at her. "Stay out of it, Madison." He turned his glare back on me, his voice laced with fury. "You know what? Mom warned me about you months ago. She said you and your family would never fit in with us. I should have listened." The room went silent, the sting of his words hanging in the air. I could see my mother's face crumple in pain, and my father's hands balled into fists. But then, Chase stepped forward, his voice calm yet firm. "That's enough, Ethan. Want to talk about family history?" Chase's tone was steady. "Let's talk about how your mother treated your last fiancé, or the one before that." Eleanor's face drained of color, her anger rising quickly. "How dare you bring that up? What, because I used to be a recovering addict?" she spat. Chase smiled grimly. "At least I own my mistakes. At least I changed." Before I could fully process, Ethan moved quickly. With one swift motion, he grabbed my bouquet from my hands and threw it to the ground, stomping on the flowers with a violent force. "This wedding is over!" he yelled, his voice dripping with contempt. "I won't let you and your trashy family embarrass us anymore." The collective gasp from the guests was deafening. Madison's arm went around me, trying to steady me, but I didn't need it. Something inside me snapped, and a cold, hard resolve replaced the shock. "You're right about one thing, Ethan," I said, my voice clear and unwavering in the stunned silence. "This wedding is over, but not because you're calling it off, because I am." I reached up, my fingers trembling slightly as I removed my veil, letting it fall to the ground beside the crushed flowers. I deserve better than a man who'd humiliate me at my wedding, better than a family that breeds such cruelty. "Harper, don't be dramatic," Eleanor started, her voice tight, but I cut her off with a look that made her step back. "I have the receipts for everything my family paid for this wedding," I said, my voice steady, unwavering. "You'll be receiving them tomorrow, along with a bill for my dress, which your son just ruined. I suggest you pay them promptly, unless you want everyone here to know exactly how much you needed our trashy money to make this wedding happen." I stood there, my heart pounding, but my resolve unshaken. It was over, and I was done. Ethan's face flushed red. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." I turned to the gathered guests, my head held high. "I'm sorry you all came out here today. The reception hall is paid for until midnight. Please enjoy the food and drinks. Consider it my parting gift." As I walked away, Madison at my side and Chase following close behind, I heard Eleanor's shrill voice. "Ethan, are you going to let her speak to us this way? Do something!" But I didn't stop to hear what he might do. I'd already given that family enough of my time, my love, and my trust. As I reached the bridal suite to gather my things, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from Ethan's cousin, Skylar. "I have videos of everything and there's more you need to know. Meet me tomorrow." I showed the message to Madison, who smiled grimly. Looks like the perfect wedding day might turn into the perfect revenge. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, my ruined dress, my smudged makeup, my straight spine, and my dry eyes, I knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The hotel room felt too quiet the morning after what should have been my wedding night. Sunlight crept through the curtains I hadn't bothered to close, and my phone kept buzzing with messages I wasn't ready to read. "You need to eat something," Madison said, setting down a coffee and bagel beside my bed. She'd stayed with me all night, sleeping on the small couch by the window. "And you should see some of these social media posts. People are on your side, Harper." I sat up slowly, my eyes falling on my ruined wedding dress hanging on the closet door. I still can't believe it happened. Any of it. "Harper," Madison hesitated, checking her phone again. "Skylar's downstairs, Ethan's cousin. She says she needs to talk to you. She has information." Before I could respond, my phone started ringing. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. Madison reached to decline it, but I stopped her. "No, I want to hear what he has to say." Taking a deep breath, I answered and put it on speaker. "What do you want, Ethan?" His voice came through shaky, different from yesterday's anger. "Harper, baby, we need to talk. Mom, she told me everything. The truth. I'm so sorry." Madison and I exchanged looks. "The truth about what?" "Mom's been lying, not just yesterday, but about everything. The family business, the inheritance, all of it." He paused, and I heard him take a shuddering breath. "She's been embezzling money for years, using my name. That's why she needed this wedding to happen. Your family's connection to the bank. She needed the merger to cover her tracks, Harper." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying she used us. Both of us. And when she realized you were smarter than she thought, that you might figure it out, she had to stop the wedding. Harper, I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. Should have trusted you." The door knocked softly. Skylar had come up. Madison let her in, and she rushed over to the phone, her face pale. "Tell her the rest, Ethan," Skylar demanded. "Tell her about the other brides." My heart stopped. "Other brides?" "3 of them," Skylar said when Ethan stayed silent. "All in the last 5 years. Each time Aunt Eleanor found a reason to cause a scene, to break it up. Each time the family of the bride had some sort of financial connection she needed, and each time large sums of money disappeared during the chaos." I felt sick. "And you knew about this, Ethan?" "No, I swear, Harper, I just found out. Mom, she's been using my signature, my accounts. I've been blind, so stupid. But I have proof now, bank statements, documents, everything. I'm going to the police, but I needed you to know first. I need you to forgive me." Madison scoffed, but I held up my hand. Years of working at the bank had taught me to listen for what wasn't being said. "You're not going to the police, are you, Ethan?" I said quietly. "You're calling to warn me because if I go to the police, you'll go down with her." "Those weren't just her signatures on those documents, were they?" The silence on the other end was deafening. "That's what I thought." I looked at Skylar, who nodded grimly. "Send me everything you have, Skylar. Every document, every video, every piece of evidence." "Harper, please." Ethan's voice cracked. "We can fix this. Start over. I love you." "No, Ethan. You love yourself, and that's going to cost you everything." I ended the call, my hands steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. Madison and Skylar watched me, waiting. "What are you going to do?" Madison asked softly. I stood up, finally ready to face the day. "First, I'm going to eat that bagel. Then we're going to my office, because if Eleanor wants to play with bank records, she's about to learn she messed with the wrong family." Skylar pulled out a USB drive from her purse. "Everything's here. The videos from yesterday, old bank statements, and copies of forged documents. She never thought I'd keep records, but after what she did to my sister..." "Your sister?" Madison and I asked simultaneously. Skylar's face hardened. The first bride. My sister wasn't just a bride who got away. After the wedding fell apart, she tried to expose Eleanor. 3 days later, she was in a car accident. Nothing was ever proven, but the implications... Chills ran down my spine. This wasn't just about a wedding ruined anymore. This was about something bigger, about justice and stopping the darkness from continuing. Call your sister, I told Skylar. It's time. We need every victim, every witness. I turned to Madison. Call my father. His friends at the FBI should hear about this. As I reached for a bagel, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Eleanor. Let's talk, dear. Just us girls, for Ethan's sake. I showed it to Madison and Skylar, both of whom exchanged worried looks. She's scared, I said, feeling my resolve grow stronger. She should be. Eleanor didn't just ruin my wedding, she gave me the perfect reason to tear everything she's built down. And I was just getting started. The security guard at the bank raised an eyebrow as I walked in, my makeup from yesterday still on my face and wearing casual clothes instead of my usual business attire. Roberts, didn't expect to see you today? What with the change of plans, Joe? I gave a small smile. Need to handle some urgent business. Madison and Skylar followed me through the quiet office to my desk. Being a financial crimes investigator had its perks like weekend access and a system that could trace transactions better than any personal laptop. I logged in. Okay, Skylar, plug in that USB. Let's see what we're dealing with. Files started populating on my screen. Madison gasped. Harper, look at these amounts, the transfers. They're all just under the reporting threshold. Classic structuring. I nodded, the investigator in me taking over. She knew exactly what she was doing. See how they're spread out 3 days apart? Different accounts, but always ending up in the same offshore shell company? Skylar leaned in closer. That's the company my sister mentioned before the accident. I typed quickly, pulling up transaction histories. There's a pattern. Large transfers right before each failed wedding, then smaller amounts trickling back over the next few months. She wasn't just stealing from the bride's family, she was using the weddings as cover for larger financial movements. Harper, Madison's voice was urgent. Your phone's blowing up. 3 missed calls from Eleanor, 5 from Ethan, and 1 text that made my blood run cold. I hope you're not at work, dear. Those files are private family matters. We wouldn't want anything happening to your career over a little peek at confidential information. She's threatening you, Madison growled. No, I said, a grim smile on my face. She's confessing. I turned to Skylar. Call your sister now. While Skylar stepped away to make the call, I kept pulling up more records. Madison, remember last Christmas when Eleanor insisted on hosting that charity gala? The one where half the city's bankers showed up? Yeah, why? Look at these donations. I pointed to the screen. Every guest made exactly the same contribution, but the tax records show different amounts. She wasn't just stealing from families, she was running a full-scale money laundering operation through fake charity events. Skylar returned, her face pale but determined. My sister's on her way. She's bringing everything she saved from 5 years ago, and she's not coming alone. What do you mean? The other brides. They stayed in touch. They've been waiting for someone to finally stand up to Eleanor. They want to help. My phone buzzed again. Ethan this time. Mom's losing it, Harper. She's destroying documents. Please, can we talk? Perfect timing, I muttered, pulling up the security camera feeds from the Walker family office. Being their bank's primary investigator had its advantages. Look who's having a weekend paper shredding party. The grainy footage showed Eleanor frantically feeding documents into a shredder while Ethan paced behind her. Their desperation was clear even through the poor video quality. Send that footage to your secure email, Madison advised. They'll try to wipe it soon. Already done. And I typed a few more commands. Every transaction they make from now on will be flagged. They're not moving another dollar without us knowing. A knock on the office door made us all jump. Joe, the security guard, stood there with 2 women I'd never seen before. Sorry to interrupt, Ms. Roberts, but these ladies insist they know you. Something about a wedding. The taller woman stepped forward, her face haunted but determined. I'm Kennedy, Skylar's sister, and this is Rebecca. She was supposed to marry Ethan 2 years ago. We hear you're finally going to take Eleanor down. I looked at these women, survivors of Eleanor's previous schemes, and felt something click into place. We weren't just gathering evidence anymore. We were building an army. Welcome to the team, I said, turning my computer screen to show them. Let's talk about how Eleanor Walker tried to destroy all our lives and how we're going to make sure she never hurts another family again. As Kennedy and Rebecca pulled up chairs, sharing details that made each previous scheme clearer, my phone lit up with one final message from Eleanor. You have no idea what you're getting into, little girl. Some fights aren't worth the cost. I showed the message to the group. Madison squeezed my shoulder. Skylar nodded grimly. Kennedy and Rebecca exchanged knowing looks. That's where you're wrong, Eleanor, I whispered, forwarding the threat to my secure email. This fight is worth everything, because with each passing minute, each new piece of evidence, we were building something stronger than Eleanor's lies. We were building the truth, and the truth, as they say, will set you free, or in Eleanor's case, send her to prison. Sunday morning, my apartment had turned into a war room. 6 women, countless coffee cups, and evidence spread across every surface. Kennedy and Rebecca had brought their own files, years of collecting proof that seemed incomplete on its own, but created a devastating picture when combined. Look at this. Kennedy spread out bank statements on my coffee table. Every wedding was scheduled exactly 3 months after a major charity event. It wasn't random. Madison, who'd been typing everything into a timeline, looked up. The timing matches those offshore transfers Harper found. She was using the weddings to cover her tracks. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Ethan. I'd stopped answering but kept every desperate voicemail. Each one was more revealing than the last. Harper, please. Mom's saying crazy things. She's threatening to pin everything on me. I don't know what to do. Rebecca shook her head. Same old Ethan. He tried that victim act with me too, always playing both sides. Speaking of both sides, Skylar pulled out her phone. Look what just got posted to the family business page. We crowded around to see a perfectly staged photo of Eleanor and Ethan, both looking solemn. The caption read, In light of recent family events, Walker Industries is announcing an internal audit. We maintain our commitment to transparency and integrity. Transparency? Madison scoffed. That's rich. No, I smiled. That's desperate. They're trying to get ahead of the story. Skylar, when's the next board meeting? Tomorrow morning. All major shareholders will be there. I stood up, moving to my whiteboard where we'd mapped out Eleanor's network. Then that's our deadline. Rebecca, you said you still have friends in local news? She nodded, already pulling out her phone. They've been dying for a story on the Walkers for years, just needed solid proof. They'll have it. Kennedy added, every document, every transaction, every threat. My landline rang. The one number Eleanor didn't have. It was my father. Harper, my FBI contact is very interested in what you found, but honey, you need to be careful. People like Eleanor, they don't go down easily. I know, Dad. That's why we're not giving her any wiggle room. I looked at the women around me, each one a survivor of Eleanor's schemes. We're doing this right. After I hung up, Skylar spoke softly. She's already calling her high-powered friends. I saw her contact list. Judges, politicians. Let her, I said firmly. Because while she's doing that, I pulled out a fresh piece of paper. We're going to write a letter to every single charity she's ever worked with, every donor, every board member. Madison immediately caught on. A warning about the fraud. Exactly. But we're not sending it yet. I turned to Kennedy. How good are you at getting Eleanor angry? Angry enough to confess? Kennedy's smile was sharp. You want me to crash her damage control brunch today? The one she's hosting for close family friends to explain her side of the wedding disaster? Rebecca chimed in. We'll all go. Every single bride she tried to destroy. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Mom's losing it. She's talking about leaving the country. Please, can we meet? Just us. Perfect. I showed them the message. He's on his way. You're meeting him at the brunch alone? Madison protested. It's too dangerous. It's too perfect, I corrected her. Eleanor wants to control the narrative. Let's see how she handles it when all her lies come crashing down at once in front of everyone she's trying to fool. Skylar started gathering the documents. I'll make copies. Lots of copies, Rebecca added. And I'll call my camera crew. They can be ready in an hour. I looked at my ruined wedding dress, still hanging in the corner. No more white dresses or innocent brides for Eleanor to destroy today. We're showing up in black. The room buzzed with energy as everyone moved into action. CLA and Rebecca coordinating with the press, Skylar organizing documents, Madison setting up secure email drops for all the evidence. My phone buzzed one final time. Eleanor. I heard you're meeting Ethan. Smart girl. Finally seeing reason. Let's put this unfortunate incident behind us. I showed the group the message, and Kennedy laughed. Oh, she has no idea what's coming. No, I agreed, picking up my car keys. She doesn't, but she's about to learn that the little girl she tried to destroy grew up, and we've been taking notes. Eleanor had spent years perfecting her schemes, but she made one crucial mistake. She left too many survivors, and now we weren't just looking for revenge, we were looking for justice. Ladies, I said, grabbing my bag, let's go crash a brunch. The brunch venue looked exactly like Eleanor's. Expensive, pristine, and fake. I adjusted my black dress, feeling the weight of the documents in my purse. Around me, Kennedy, Rebecca, and Skylar stood ready, each wearing their version of funeral attire. We weren't mourning. We were here for justice. Remember, I whispered. Let her make the first move. She always does. Through the restaurant windows, I saw Eleanor holding court at a large table, Ethan beside her like a puppet on strings. The close family friends she'd gathered looked exactly as I expected. Wealthy, influential, and completely unaware of who Eleanor really was. Harper? Ethan spotted me first, his face paling. What are you... Who are they? Eleanor turned, her practiced smile freezing as she recognized Kennedy and Rebecca. What is the meaning of this? Hello, Eleanor. Kennedy stepped forward. It's been what? 5 years since you destroyed my wedding, and Rebecca's was 2 years ago? We thought it was time for a reunion. The other guests started whispering, looking between us with growing interest. Eleanor's smile became strained. I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. Ethan, escort these women out. Actually, I opened my purse. I think your guests might be interested in these. I pulled out the bank statements, the charity records, and the evidence of years of fraud, especially since many of them are listed as donors to your fake charities. Eleanor's face contorted. How dare you? These are private family matters. Private? Rebecca laughed coldly. Like how you privately threatened each of us, privately stole from our families, privately arranged accidents when people got too close to the truth? The whispers grew louder. Ethan stood frozen, looking between his mother and me. It's all lies, Eleanor announced, but her voice shook. Ethan, tell them. But Ethan was staring at the documents I'd spread on the table. Mom, these are my signatures, but I never... Of course you did, Eleanor snapped. You signed everything I put in front of you, just like a good son should. The silence that followed her outburst was deafening. She just confessed in front of everyone to forging her son's signature. I have copies for everyone, Skylar announced, pulling out more files, including the federal investigators who should be arriving any minute. Eleanor's mask finally cracked completely. You ungrateful little brats! Do you know who I am? What I can do to you? We know exactly who you are, I said calmly. That's why we're here. No more brides, Eleanor. No more schemes. No more victims. The sound of sirens in the distance made Eleanor's face go white. The truth was finally catching up to her, and there was nowhere left to run. The perfect brunch was over, but justice was just beginning. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of legal meetings, police interviews, and media chaos. I sat in my lawyer's office, watching Eleanor's empire crumble on every news channel. "Another victim has come forward," Madison announced, showing me her phone. This time, from 8 years ago. Eleanor didn't just target brides, she ruined entire families. My lawyer, Ms. Rodriguez, spread more documents across her desk. The evidence is overwhelming. Tax fraud, embezzlement, money laundering through fake charities, and that's just the financial crimes. "What about the threats?" Kennedy asked. She'd become a constant presence during our legal battles, her case finally getting the attention it deserved. "The accidents that happened to people who spoke up?" "Being investigated separately," Ms. Rodriguez confirmed. "The FBI is particularly interested in the pattern of convenient tragedies around Eleanor's schemes." My phone buzzed Ethan again. His messages had become increasingly desperate as more evidence emerged. "Harper, please, they're freezing all our accounts. Mom's lawyers quit. I don't know what to do." I showed the message to Madison, who scoffed. "He's still trying to play victim after everything before I could respond." Ms. Rodriguez's assistant burst in. "Turn on Channel 7. Eleanor Walker is making a statement." "We," Ed around the office TV there. She stood outside the courthouse. Her designer outfit slightly wrinkled, her perfect mask finally showing cracks. "These accusations are absurd." She declared to the reporters, "I am the victim here. These vengeful women led by my former daughter-in-law are trying to destroy my family's reputation out of spite." "Really?" I muttered, pulling out my phone. "Let's see how that plays." I pressed send on the email I'd been saving, the one containing videos of every threat, every manipulation, every cruel moment Eleanor thought no one was watching. Within minutes, they started appearing on every news site. "Mrs. Walker," a reporter called out, "can you explain this footage of you threatening Harper Roberts at her wedding?" Eleanor's face went pale. Another reporter jumped in. "What about these bank records showing systematic fraud?" "No comment." Eleanor tried to retreat, but the damage was done. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ethan, but different from his usual pleading. "How could you do this to us?" "To me. I loved you." I typed back. "One final resp no." "Ethan, you love the idea of me, someone you could control as your mother controlled you, but I'm not that person anymore." "Ms. Roberts, a mess." Rodriguez called my attention back. "The DA wants to meet. They're offering Eleanor a deal, but they want statements from all her victims first." I looked around the room at the women who had become my strength: Madison, Kennedy, Rebecca, and Skylar. Each of us had suffered under Eleanor's schemes, but together we had found the courage to fight back. "Tell them we're ready." I said all of us. The next day we walked into the DA's office together, a united front of women Eleanor had tried to break, but we weren't victims anymore. We were survivors, witnesses, and the ones who would finally bring her to justice. As we gave our statements, I couldn't help but think about that wedding day that seemed so long ago now. Eleanor had thought she was ruining my life. Instead, she had given me the strength to find my voice and the allies to make it heard. The headlines that evening said it all. "Walker family matriarch faces federal charges. Decades of fraud exposed. Justice wasn't just coming. It was already here." 1 year later, I stood in my new office, watching the sunrise over the city skyline. The soft hum of the wall-mounted TV played the morning news, where Eleanor's sentencing was still making waves. 15 years, Madison remarked, bringing in our morning coffee, plus full restitution to all the families she defrauded. Not bad for a woman who thought she was untouchable. I smiled, picking up the framed newspaper article on my desk. Walker family fraud. How one bride stood up and exposed decades of corruption. Below it sat a group photo of all of us, Madison, Kennedy, Rebecca, Skylar, and me, taken right after the verdict. "Have you seen Ethan's email?" Madison asked cautiously. I nodded, letting out a small sigh. His last attempt at contact came yesterday. I'm sorry for everything. I see now what she made me become. Maybe someday. I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. My phone buzzed with a message from Kennedy. Turn on Channel 7. They're doing a special report on financial fraud prevention. Guess who they interviewed? I switched channels just in time to see myself on screen, speaking at a victims advocate conference. The most dangerous predators don't look dangerous. They wear designer clothes and host charity galas, but we're here to say no more. Look at you, Madison grinned. From banker to fraud investigator to public speaker, Eleanor would hate it. That's not why I do it, I replied, but I couldn't help smiling. Though it is a nice bonus. My new office door had my name and title, Harper Roberts, Director of Financial Crime Prevention. After everything had unfolded, several major banks approached me to help develop better fraud detection systems. It turned out my experience with Trish had given me unique insights. Rebecca's case had helped another victim come forward. Yesterday, Madison said, checking her phone, that support group you started is making a difference. I glanced at the photos on my wall, not just of our legal victory, but of the lives we'd rebuilt. Kennedy had opened her own business. Rebecca was writing a book, and Skylar had reconciled with her sister, who was finally getting the therapy she needed after years of Eleanor's manipulation. Sometimes I think about that wedding day, I admitted. How I thought everything was falling apart, when really it was falling into place. Madison finished for me. Though I still say we should have kept that cake you paid for. We laughed, and I felt that familiar warmth of gratitude for everything I gained by losing what I thought I wanted. My assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Roberts, the FBI task force is ready for your presentation on identifying familial fraud patterns. Be right there. I gathered my materials, pausing to straighten a small frame on my desk. It held a simple quote. Sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the day that changes everything for the better. As I walked to the conference room, my phone lit up with messages from our support group members, women who had found their voice, their strength, and their way back to themselves. Eleanor had wanted to destroy me that day at my wedding. Instead, she helped me find my purpose. While she sat in her prison cell, I was here, turning her cruelty into something positive, something helpful, something real. I'd lost a wedding but gained a mission, lost a husband but found my strength. And most importantly, I learned that sometimes the happy ending isn't the one you planned, it's the one you fight for. The story that began with a broken heart led to a life I never could have imagined, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's living your best life despite those who tried to break you. And that's exactly what I intended to keep doing, one day at a time. How do you find your true power when everything you thought you wanted falls apart? What if the most painful chapter of your life leads to the strength you never knew you had? Harper's dream wedding turns into a nightmare when her mother-in-law, Eleanor, manipulates and humiliates her in front of the guests. But what begins as a breakdown quickly transforms into a moment of empowerment, as Harper uncovers the truth about Eleanor's fraudulent schemes. With the help of other women who have been victimized by Eleanor, Harper takes action, exposing the corruption and injustice that had been hiding in plain sight for years. As Eleanor's empire crumbles, Harper finds her purpose and a new mission to help others. Looking at this story from the perspective of personal growth and transformation, Harper's journey highlights the incredible strength that can come from adversity. The way she rises from the emotional wreckage of her wedding day, refusing to let Eleanor's cruelty define her, shows how resilience can turn trauma into empowerment. By uncovering the fraud, not just in the family business but in her own life, Harper moves from a place of victimhood to one of control. Her choice to fight for justice rather than wallow in despair demonstrates the profound shift from weakness to power, showing that even the most devastating moments can pave the way for profound personal growth and societal impact. What would you do if the very event that seemed to destroy you became the catalyst for a new, powerful direction in your life? Can you transform your pain into a force for change? Have you ever faced a moment where everything you thought was important fell apart, only to realize it was leading you to something greater? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. How did you rise from your struggles? And what lessons did you learn along the way? Let's inspire each other to keep fighting for what's right, no matter the cost.